You think you've mastered the al dente. You've navigated the thin wires of spaghettini and the thick tubes of rigatoni, but then you encounter farfalle, the bow tie, the butterfly, the shape that is the ultimate test of a pasta brand's integrity. Because farfalle is a structural paradox, a flat, delicate wing on either side of a thick, pinch center. And this inherent unevenness is where the industrial pasta giants commit their most egregious sins. While you've been charmed by the playful shape, the farfalle industry has been hiding its biggest deception in plain sight, betting that the complexity of the form will distract you from the simplicity of the betrayal. The truth is, with farfalle, the quality of the flour and the precision of the drying process are not just important, they are the difference between a perfectly textured bite and a sad, mushy mess. We're not just talking about a slight difference in taste, we're talking about a fundamental betrayal of texture, flavor, and the very structure of your meal. The farfalle you buy is either a resilient, porous bow tie that cooks evenly, or a smooth, shiny, plastic-like butterfly that is simultaneously mushy on the wings and hard in the center. So, let's talk about the 6 farfalle brands that are either stealing your money and destroying your dinner, or are actually worth the space in your cart. We are exposing the enriched flour, the high-speed drying, and the corporate shell games that turn a potentially perfect meal into a tragedy. Smash that subscribe button because we're about to save you from some seriously depressing farfalle disasters. We begin with the robbers, the brands that are robbing you blind. And coming in at number 6 is the generic store brand Farfalle. At roughly $1.19 per pound, this is the budget option that promises a fun shape but delivers only a frustrating compromise. The ingredient list is the familiar red flag enriched macaroni product, which is code for we took the high-protein durum wheat semolina out and replaced it with a softer, cheaper wheat flour that is milled to death, then added back synthetic vitamins to meet legal requirements. So, the problem is really magnified with farfalle because, well, the thick center and those thin little wings need a strong, resilient gluten structure to cook evenly. But with the weak gluten structure of enriched flour, the thin wings end up completely overcooked and mushy long before the thick center is even close to being done. You end up with a noodle that's, somehow both slimy and chalky at the same time. The cooking time is often listed as, 10 to 12 minutes, but honestly, the window between raw and overcooked is dangerously narrow. The mouthfeel? It's a textural nightmare, a soft, yielding exterior that suddenly gives way to a hard, unpleasant core. And the worst part is the sauce failure. The cheap extrusion process leaves the surface all slick, so the sauce that should get trapped in those folds just slides right off, leaving you with, well, a mouthful of bland, starchy paste. The manufacturers know you're buying this for its perceived value, and honestly, they're betting on your hunger to overlook the fact that you're actually buying a structural failure. The bottom line here is that this farfalle is the culinary equivalent of a poorly designed airplane. It looks like it should fly, but, well, it crashes the moment you try to take off. Moving on to number 5, we find Barilla Farfalle, the US-made version. That ubiquitous blue box is the default for so many folks, and, honestly, it trades entirely on a powerful brand name and Italian heritage that its American-made product just doesn't honor anymore. While the ingredients list does mention durum wheat semolina, the deception really lies in the process. This pasta is extruded through Teflon dies, not the traditional bronze dies, and, this is the corporate shortcut that is particularly devastating for a shape like farfalle. Teflon is fast and cheap, creating a perfectly smooth, shiny surface, and on a bow tie, this smoothness is a crime against sauce. The noodle is so slick that your sauce, whether it's a simple butter sauce or a complex pesto, simply slides right off the folds, pooling at the bottom of the bowl. Chef Isabella Rossi, speaking on the difference, once said, "Barilla is like a beautiful photograph of a meal. It looks right, but it has no soul, no texture, no grip." And with farfalle, this lack of grip is a fatal flaw. The sauce cannot penetrate the slick exterior to integrate with the noodle's core. At $1.79 to $2.50 per pound, you are paying a premium for brand recognition, not quality, and they have convinced millions of Americans that this smooth, sauce-repelling noodle is what good pasta should be. A triumph of marketing over mouthfeel. Our 4th brand that is robbing you blind is Ronzoni Farfalle. a brand that was once a source of pride but has become a ghost trading on memories after multiple corporate acquisitions. Check the ingredients. Enriched macaroni product, wheat flour. Notice what's missing. The consistent quality of durum wheat semolina. They switched to cheaper blends and enriched flour to cut costs. And this is the classic corporate move that is amplified by the structural challenge of the Farfalle. The texture is soft and slightly mushy even when cooked al dente, and the taste is aggressively bland, neutral to the point of being forgettable. At $1.30 to $1.80 per pound, it's mid-tier pricing for low-tier quality. So here's the real industry secret. It's all about the high-heat, rapid-dry process. Traditionally, high-quality Farfalle is dried slowly, sometimes for more than 24 hours, at low temperatures. This method preserves the wheat's flavor and makes sure the starch molecules set just right. But, Ronzoni, like a lot of those mass-market brands, uses industrial heat to dry their pasta in just a fraction of the time. This rapid dry process basically pre-cooks the pasta, which honestly destroys the subtle wheat flavor and pretty much guarantees a softer, less resilient product that just falls apart in the pot. And, well, the reviews really don't lie. People complain that it falls apart in the pot, and they change the recipe. This is exactly what happens when a pasta company gets bought out by a big food conglomerate that thinks shaving off a few hours of drying time and saving a few cents on the flour blend matters more than the integrity of the final product. They're basically banking on your nostalgia to make you overlook the taste. Alright, now we move on to the winners, the brands that honestly are worth your money. And number 3 is Müller Farfalle, a brand that has surprisingly maintained its integrity despite corporate ownership by Treehouse Foods since 1999. Unlike Ronzoni, Müller's maintains its original semolina-based recipe, making it the best American-made Farfalle you can buy. The ingredients list leads with enriched semolina, actual durum wheat semolina as the primary ingredient. Cook it for 10 to 12 minutes, and the texture is noticeably better. Firm, holds shape well, minimal mushiness. The taste has a mild weedy flavor with slight nuttiness, and at 8 grams of protein per serving, it's notably higher than the cheaper brands due to actual semolina. At $1.40 to $1.90 per pound, it delivers the best value in the mid-price range. Reddit's cooking community actually calls it the best American-made pasta, and, honestly, it's surprisingly good for the price. Müller's succeeds by being overlooked. Treehouse Foods hasn't optimized it to death, because, well, changing the recipe just isn't worth the hassle. It's the reliable Honda Civic of pasta. Not sexy, but it gets the job done without drama. And with Farfalle, drama is the last thing you want. If this is already changing your grocery list, hit that subscribe button so you don't waste money on our next pick. Our number 2 winner is De Cecco Farfalle, imported from Italy. Founded in 1886, De Cecco remains family-controlled and has never compromised its recipe or process. At $2.50 to $3.50 per pound, this is the pasta that makes you understand what you've been missing. So, when you pull the pasta from that blue and yellow package, just notice the difference, okay? It's got this matte, kinda dusty appearance, thanks to bronze die extrusion. If you run your thumb across an uncooked strand, you'll actually feel the texture. Like really, it's almost like very fine sandpaper. And honestly, this roughness, that's the key to sauce adhesion, especially on a delicate shape like Farfalle. The ingredient list is super simple. 100% durum wheat semolina, and that's it. Just cook it for about 10 to 12 minutes and, well, you'll experience what actual al dente means. There's a substantial bite, real resistance before your teeth break through, and a springy texture that totally maintains its integrity. That rough bronze dye surface grabs sauce like Velcro, locking it onto every fold and wing. At $2.50 to $3.50 per pound, you're paying 31 to 44 cents per serving. Yeah, it costs a bit more up front, but honestly, the eating experience is dramatically better. Chef Stephen Jerome says, De Cecco is the standout when it comes to store-bought pasta. The bronze dye process gives it that perfect texture to hold onto sauce, and with Farfalle, that texture is non-negotiable. De Cecco positions itself perfectly as affordable premium. They basically let food snobs and Italian chefs do their marketing for free. This is what pasta tastes like when Italians make it for Italians. The difference between this and Barilla is like comparing a freshly brewed espresso to instant coffee. And hey, if you're finding this ranking useful, smash that like button. It helps us test more products you actually care about. And finally, number 1. The undisputed champion, Rusticella d'Abruzzo Farfalle. At $4.50 to $6 per pound, yeah, that's like 4 to 6 times the generic store brand's price. This is what you buy when you want to understand what Farfalle can be when made without compromise. This is, hands down, the Ferrari of the bowtie pasta world. The package often arrives wrapped in paper, and the uncooked pasta looks almost hand-hewn, with visible roughness. The bronze-dyed texture is dramatic. It honestly feels like a cat's tongue covered in microscopic hooks. The ingredient list is a testament to purity, organic durum wheat semolina and water. That's it. So, cook it for exactly 11 minutes and, experience pasta as it was meant to be, bread-like density, substantial resistance when you bite down, and then, that satisfying give. You actually find yourself eating slower, savoring the texture. The intensely rough surface doesn't just hold sauce, it totally integrates with it. Make a simple primavera and the oil just seeps right into the pasta's porous texture. Every single bow tie is, honestly, a perfect vessel for flavor. Chef Matt Harden explains, Rusticella highlights the grain itself, a nutty terroir-driven flavor that makes the pasta a star, not just a vessel. The slow drying takes over 50 hours at low temperatures instead of just 4 hours at industrial heat. This preserves the wheat flavor and creates a genuinely special texture. What makes this particularly honest is acknowledging the truth. At this price, you're paying for artisan production methods. Is it 4 to 6 times better than the generic store brand? No, it's maybe 50 to 60% better, but you're paying for small batch quality, organic ingredients, and traditional slow drying. Smart customers know this is for simple preparations where the farfalle is the star, not for heavy ragu where the sauce dominates. This is what Italian grandmothers mean when they say pasta should have character. Hit subscribe if this changed how you'll shop for farfalle.